Hello, Tim here. Welcome to my channel. In today's episode, I'm going to show you a little trick of the trade that I use when you want to copy something, or you're in a museum perhaps, or you're someplace and you say, I want to make a copy of that particular thing. In a previous episode, I talked about this toolbox, which was my grandfather's, and there's a tool that I use to scale this down. So this is an exactly half-size replica of this toolbox. There's two things I want to point out. In one scenario, you can be in a place where you can't get close enough to something. You want to record it because you maybe want to make something. It might be a table, it might be a carving, it might be something that's of interest. And one of the things you can make for yourself is an increment stick like this. And having black and white like that, that's 1 inch apart, is going to tell a story. So if you have this somewhere here, you can tell how big that tree is, for example. And you could set this on here and take a picture of it. And like if you're traveling someplace, a ruler, you can carry a ruler around and do the same thing, but that's pretty small. And it's small to see the numbers, especially if you're a ways away. This shows up really well. So why bother with this? Well, I learned this trick from archaeologists and architects. If you're doing something in a building and you want to get perspective of it, well, maybe you don't have this stick with you. Well, put something in there that you know the size. It could be a coin, it could be a pen or something like that. So in this particular case, this is a half-size scale of this toolbox. So how would you proportion something? Let's say you're going to go 3/4 size or even smaller than that. One of the tools I've used for years is a proportion scale. So the percentage of this toolbox to this one is 50%. So I would adjust this. You measure this as 3/4 of an inch thick, and size of original 3/4, and that'd be right there. And at 50%, so this 3/8 of an inch is half of 3/4. And not to get confusing about this, but this tool became really helpful when I didn't know the scale of anything. I didn't have the original to go by. This toolbox, I happened to see, I was watching Little House on the Prairie. And in the second episode, you'll see Pa Ingalls walking out of somewhere where he's working and slinging this toolbox over his shoulder. So it had a strap on it, and there's a couple of different episodes where he has this. And there's the back side of it, so you can see the V cut and in the legs. It seemed like you lose some capacity for hauling tools. There must be some reason why they did it that way. But the most useful part of this was this picture here. So that was his hand. Now I scaled it to my hand. So I took a given measurement and I used dividers. I would measure that, and it turned out to be like 3.5 inches. So I measured my hand at 3.5 inches. Now I have a given measurement, and I could take other proportions off of here based on that hand and proportion this, use my proportion scale, and made a reproduction of that very toolbox. And it's just a tool, a way to capture something. Like if you see something and you find interesting, but you can't take it with you. In this particular case, I couldn't download the picture, so I ended up just doing a screenshot. I mean, I took a picture of the TV. We froze the frame and took a picture of the TV. And I've done this with things I've seen in museums too. So this was my first end panel And I made some modifications to it. I don't know that, I couldn't tell if these were mortised through, but I mortised mine through the bottom and the sides. And I couldn't tell how many divisions were in here, but I saw in that picture at least 2 of them. So I made that. This is probably about 4 inches, I believe. The bottom is tongue and groove in there. So there's, except for these nails here, which are cut nails, there's no other nails in this. The strap, this is a belt that belonged to my father. So I used his belt and I left it this way. I could adjust the height. I have to unscrew it, but it's adjustable to some extent. And this is kind of fun because I take this with me now to events where I demonstrate period woodworking. I take this toolbox as well. In one of the shows, demonstrations I had happened to be a cast reunion of the Little House on the Prairie, and Dean Butler, who played Almanzo, showed up and saw this and recognized it. He recognized the style. I mean, it's the same kind that Michael Landon carried in the show, so he recognized that. I have to say that was a highlight for me to meet him and gain a friend. But I would say just give it a go. If you're gonna, it might seem daunting to make something like this, and you never know where your ideas are going to come from, you know, what will inspire you. So when you do something like this, just make a practice piece. This one, I laid out my lines and I overcut and I kind of messed up, but this is kind of my initial end piece. So if you're going to make one of these, make 2 and make one that's your mistake piece. But this one came out fine, and I'm happy. It's been a fun project, and I'm looking forward to doing more. Hope that something inspired you to give it a go, and I just thank you for watching, and please give it a thumbs up if you would, and we'll see you next time.